2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6,
Hello, my name is Bill Haley, and this is for Haley 2024 The Movement's Government Reform Ideas. Now, this video is going to be on the military corporations. Now, I am proposing a new constitution for the United States of America, for every state and the localities as well, the same constitution. So it's a radical change, but it's a modest proposal because we're going to go with a lot less government. It's going to go to a competitive governing system. What I'm talking about there is you pick the governance that you want, I pick the governance I want, the neighbor down the street picks the governance they want within the same geographic area. So we have competitive governance. Only a few things going up to the monopolized level of governance we're going to call the sector board level. So let's go through the whole system real quick, and then we'll concentrate on the military corporation. There's a lot of videos going through every aspect of what I'm talking about here, so the overview will be rather short, probably 4 or 5 minutes. So we're going to separate all government power into 30 sectors. There's no one person that's going to be in charge of more than one sector. So anybody with the official authority might be over family law or commander-in-chief, not both of them. It might be over healthcare or financial law or environmental controls or transportation. They might be over the courts or the law enforcement. Every one of these will be separated out. Nobody in elected leadership will be over more than one sector. That's a lot of accountability. That's a lot of checks and balances. So nobody has too much power. Also, you get to pick or select your leadership per sector. You might be liberal in one area, conservative in another area, and a lot of different models of that, not just the two, but there's a lot of different varieties of perspectives. So let's keep on going through this. Within each sector, you're going to have roughly 12 different competitive governances to choose from. I call it competitive regulatory agencies. These are full governmental systems with executive, legislative, and judicial powers. You pick the one that you want to go with. So this video is going to be on the military, and we'll get into that in a minute. The 12 rating agencies will be also the one that you agree with the most. So libertarians will get together with libertarians. Everybody with like-minded people will get together with like-minded people. People who like the Democrat Party or the Brookings Institute will get together with them. Heritage Foundations, the Republican parties, there's so many different philosophies of how to be governed. Everybody picks the one that they want. So let's keep on going here. The Constitution is going to have a really nice preamble, a good citizenship, general laws, bylaws, federal, state, and local. Original authority says which level of government, CRA level, sector board level, city, state, or federal, will have top authority. Supermajority means any governance that does monopolize governance over the whole jurisdiction will have to have a 70% vote. The parent sector board, how is that made up? The CRA sector board, how is that made up? I have videos on everything. Everything's on my website. Competitive regulatory agencies, that's 90% of this whole Constitution. Every other part of this Constitution tries to make and support the CRAs. So only a little bit has to go up to a monopolized governance. That's why we have sector boards. The separation of powers is why we have the parent sector board, so they can separate the powers between the 30 sectors. The rating system is going to keep everything to the CRA level and not to the monopolized level, because they're going to be able to do rating floors for significant negative externalities. Taxation is going to be moved towards CRA fees, so you're going to get the benefits from the taxes that you get within your membership. So if you choose one with a lot of fees, you're going to get a lot more benefits. One with little fees, little taxations, you're going to get a little bit benefits from your governance system. That might be good. The other way might be good. You get to pick the one that you want. We'll see which one does it better. But you're going to have a lot of different examples to choose from. How we deal with the debt situation in America. The pockets of freedom is immigration policy and foreign policy. States' partial acceptance per sector allows the support to pass this amendment. The separation of responsibilities and authorities, we're going to go over that right now. How we separate into 30 sectors. Again, top level elected leaderships per sector. So we have 5 in the charity system because we get rid of government welfare altogether. We have 5 in the foreign protection system. Now that is going to be paid for with a 5% sales tax, 5% of GDP sales tax. So that has to be paid for, but we're going to be able to utilize free enterprise system. I'm going to come back to this and describe this in more detail in a second. The violent crime mitigation system, again, free enterprise for all these things with major accountability through the Law Enforcement Authorization Board or sector. Healthcare is 2 sectors, financial is 2 sectors, insurance has a sector. You have 5 more sectors here and the last 5 sectors there. So this one's going to be on the military, so let's concentrate on that. The foreign protection system is going to have top leader, like the president we have right now is in charge of the top diplomat and top commander-in-chief. Those are 2 totally different disciplines. We want those separated out. All 5 of these will have a top executive leader. Now, the military corporation's top executive leader is going to have almost no power because it's free enterprise and it's a totally separate issue. They're going to supply the military. Commander-in-chief will have the power to command the military. So it's a totally different structure. So the diplomats will be skilled in diplomacy, handling foreign countries. If they fail and they have to declare war on another country, that's when the commander-in-chief comes in and they have the power to use military forces. The military corporation's product, we're buying the product from America with American taxes. The American military corporation's product is supplying military capabilities to America, commanded by the commander-in-chief and authorized by the diplomatic foreign policy. That is the separation of powers, that's accountability, and many checks and balances. Military capability system is a funding mechanism. Yes, they do collect the taxes from the sales taxes. They don't collect it themselves. The other CRAs have to send over the money to them. I have a separate sector, and we'll talk about that in a different video. Military Authorization Agency, 70% or representatives of 70% of the people have to authorize each person with inherent government power. So basically everybody within the foreign protection system has to get a 70% vote to be in the military. So you're going to have a lot of compromise to make that happen. So highly important that we keep on coming back to this screen because the sector board level here is very, very important because that's where the, for the military corporation is more the CRAs and the military corporations. I'm going to have to describe that to you. The rating agencies are going to be important in every sector, but this one very, 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 very important because what we're doing here is high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives and how they deal with it. They're going to take care of fraud, self-dealing, making sure the public knows all the different things. They're going to have very high access to everything. Again, military corporations, they're going to be regulated not in how they collect or how they get the or they're going to be regulated in a lot of different ways. They're going to be able to utilize free enterprise in significant ways, but they're going to be accountable to the authorization agency significantly. So let's keep on going through this. Let's go through some of the clauses. First of all, we have to understand that all military, all government assets, city, state, and federal, are going to be sold into the free enterprise system, bringing in tens of trillions of dollars to help pay down the debt. The military right now is worth many, many trillions of dollars. All the bases, aircraft carriers, satellites, everything out there is worth many, many trillions of dollars. All that's going to be sold. It's going to be sold to military corporations. I have a standard transition that's going to allow that to happen. We're going to these assets are never offline. They're always going to keep on being used. Just the ownership is going to start being transferred around and being controlled by public corporations. Publicly held private corporations that are publicly held corporations. So people owning stock in a corporation, major military corporations. These military corporations are going to be $10 to $100 billion, maybe not quite $100 billion, but probably between $2 and maybe $20 billion each. The whole military budget is going to be somewhere around the $5 to $6, maybe $700 billion is going to go to these military corporations. Probably closer to $500 to $600 billion. But that's per year, and we sell that to the military corporations, and the military corporations have to make the decisions on which planes to buy, which aircraft carriers to buy, what battleships to buy, which satellites and nuclear weapons to buy. Again, a lot of accountability, a lot of controls, a lot better than what we currently have today. So the purpose of the diplomatic foreign policy, so we're talking about Sector 6 here, is to be the diplomats and talk and negotiate with foreign nations. The purpose of the commander-in-chief is to command the military. Military cannot command itself. They could train, they can do live training and a lot of different things on their own. How much they can do on their own, we'll have to see where the gray zone is and the line is to what they can do by themselves versus the commander-in-chief has to command them. So that'll be worked out. So military corporations is what we're talking about in this video. We're 10 minutes into this video now, and I'm getting to it. But building up to that, you need to know the structure. Military corporation sector is established. That means there's 12 CRAs. The purpose of the military corporation sector is to produce a military capable of defending America. That's their purpose. And that purpose, constitutionally, means they have to fulfill that purpose. And that's important. That's an important clause in the Constitution. And different parts of the Constitution, you'll see why that's important. The military personnel and military forces must be in a qualified military corporation named the MC. Now, there's going to be something specifically called an MC, technical word that is a technical MC, a military corporation. Now, other people can do military, you can have smaller military corporations that are not a qualified military corporation, but these military corporations have to have at least 1% and no more than 10% of the overall military capabilities. So we cannot be too little, or too big. You can have a lot of subcontractors that are not up to 1%, but the big military corporations, between 1 and 10% of all military capabilities. A qualified military corporation is defined by the military MC having at least 1% and no more than 10% of the total of all military capabilities, and defined by Sector 9's military capability system. So we have a definition of what a military corporation is. So a very specific definition. There's most likely going to be about 50 of these, since you just have to be above 1%. So there's going to be a lot of them between 1 and 3%, maybe a couple of them being 7 or 8%. So maybe there'll be 30 or 40. I don't know exactly how that's going to break out. Ultimately, it has to be at least 11 and no more than 99, obviously. So that's the breakdown. Probably somewhere between the 30 and 50 military corporations out there. Official military corporations. Each qualified military corporation must be a publicly owned corporation, so stocks. And only American citizens can own those stocks. So highly important qualification in there. I'm not sure if I have that in this part of the Constitution or another part. Okay, subcontractors with less than 0.1% of the total military funding do not need to be publicly owned corporations. So it's important to understand that if you're above 0.1, you're not the technical qualified military corporation because you have to be 1%. This is 0.1. So, but 0.1%, so this is 1/1000th of the full military. That's still billions of dollars. So you still have to be a military corporation, publicly traded. But if you're smaller than that, you can be a private company, not publicly traded. Some subcontractors may contract with multiple qualified MCs. So a subcontractor can put their services out. Let's say that they are supplying aircraft refueling services, and a whole bunch of military corporations have airplanes. They can use their services to supply a lot of different MCs. So what I'm talking about is the free enterprise system can be intertangled significantly. And the whole military corporation system and the capability system, the funding mechanism, is going to be able to work that out. Subcontractors are considered in the MCs issuing the contracts. So it's important that part's in there because I have other parts of the clauses in the Constitution that's going to relate to that. An official qualified MC may not own stock or have controlling interest in another qualified MC. That's a checks and balances system. We don't want one MC to own 50 or 60% of the whole military. Too much. We want a separation there. Checks and balances. Only American citizens may have voting rights or own stock in a qualified MC. So there's plenty of American citizens with plenty of places. I mean, a lot of people are going to put their money in this for their retirement and stuff. It's going to be important. It's a investment, and we want people to invest money. And this is one of the corporations, just like Exxon or PepsiCo or Google or whatever. These are going to be very stable companies getting tens of billions of dollars flowing through it. So it's going to be they're going to have assets of aircraft carriers, satellites, personnel, tanks, bases, and the like. So they're going to have assets behind them. And if one goes bad, they're still going to have, when I say bad, let's say they're mismanaged or whatever, but they're still going to have that aircraft carrier that can be sold off. It's an asset. 50 MCs are created to start the transition. So the transition needs to be started, and basically they're going to try their best to get roughly 2% of the overall military capabilities in each one of the MCs. And as they start separating that, they have to be spot. And 1% per month has to be sold off to the general public, so they can start. We're paying down the debt with that, obviously, when we buy the stocks, because we're selling all the military to the military corporations. The military corporations have to buy the stocks back from the military, from the government, and that's paying down the debt, but that puts it into the hands of the American people. MCs must belong to CRAs. So far, I haven't talked about CRAs. They still have to belong to CRAs. Now, obviously, if you have over a 5% MC, they can own their own they can have their own CRA. That's fine. But if you have a MC that only has 1, 2, 3, 4%, well, they have to join a CRA with others, and that's fine, because MCs are between 1 and 10%. CRAs are between 5 and 20%, but they have different roles. CRAs are regulatory bodies. MCs are ownerships of a corporation. So two totally different things. An MC's product is supplying military capabilities to America. Highly important. We know what the product is. They don't get to use this product anywhere else. Now, obviously, if let's say another country is being threatened or whatever, this military corporation might say, goes to the diplomats and says, we would like to use our military capabilities to help out our ally, let's say France or another ally we have, a good guy. And the diplomats say, okay, you can use your military capabilities. France is going to have to pay the money or whatever to utilize the military corporation. They might be able to do some of that, but they're going to have to get approval, 70%. So it's not going to happen a lot, but in some instances, it could be helpful. But the product is supplying military capability to America. They cannot do missions on their own. Everybody swears allegiance to America, to the Constitution, to the Commander-in-Chief, to the top executive leader of the diplomats, and to the Military Authorization Agency top executive leader. Every MC and CRA controls attaining, training, and maintaining military forces. So they do their employment contracts with all the military people, not the commanders and chiefs, not the commanders, not the officer corps. Officer corps will be integrated within everything. They have to be. But they have a totally different ownership model. Management style. They're not paid for by the military in any way, shape, or form. They're paid for by the military capability system. They're paid for by the CRA structure and the like. There's a different funding mechanism. There needs to be, because there's checks and balances. But the Commander-in-Chief gets to direct it only when there is a active threat, only when they're authorized to. Now, obviously, they need to train with them. Commander-in-Chief don't need to be totally separated. They need to be integrated. So there'll be a way to do that. The CIC, well, let me see if I, yep, we talked about that, but there's so much to be talked about. They do the employment contracts. They decide whether they're going to get an aircraft carrier or not, another battleship. They decide whether they're going to put a satellite up in the air, and all that's going to be role of prices and business decisions. Is there enough money coming from the military capabilities for another tank unit? Is there one for another submarine? Is there enough budget for another aircraft carrier or Marine Corps or unit? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things in there, and I don't want to say everything because this Constitution is structural in nature. It is not getting to the nitty gritty. So the MCs decide on their own what they're going to get, and they're going to use roll of prices. Is spending $100 million on, let's say, 500 Marines decked out with a whole bunch of heavy-duty equipment, is that going to bring enough money in? And they're making that decision. They make a decision on how well to train these people, how well to maintain their equipment, when to buy new equipment, when to get rid of their equipment when it's outdated and stuff. They're going to use a roll of prices, and that's just going to be a way they're going to be able to do that. The CIC Commander-in-Chief Sector commands the active missions of MCs. So it's highly important that they don't have the command structure. They get to be integrated, and how much they're going to be able to influence the MCs or not, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out right now. We'll see probably different examples of that with certain CRAs doing it one way, certain CRAs doing it another way, where the military says we're going to do all the stuff without the commanders-in-chief. Other ones are going to say we're going to do it with integrated. We're going to see which one works the better. But this is not about which method is going to be the best, because that's why we have competitive regulatory agencies to decide different models doing different things. And the capability system, if the commanders are not integrated, they're going to say maybe you're not capable of doing as much because the commanders are not integrated enough. So we'll see which one works better. Every military member and every member of Sector 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which is the full foreign protection system, must pledge allegiance to America, to the Constitution, to the top diplomat, to the top commander-in-chief, and to the top executive leader of the military authorization agency, with each a distinct set of authorities. So everybody in the military will be very much educated on what authority the commander-in-chief has, the top diplomat has, the top military authorization agency has. They're going to learn the rules very, very well. They're going to go through classes and know it. Part of the authorization agency training is going to know specifically who has what authority. That's going to create a checks and balance system. And this is going to create so much accountability and checks and balances so things don't go out of control. Okay, a 40% vote of the MC sector's rating system may set rating floors on precise, specific, and narrowly drawn areas of concern. So if a military corporation is doing something that is a major concern, the rating system can step in. There's a lot of things that can step in. The authorization sector or the rating system can step in and say there's a concern here, and if it only takes a 40%. I put 40% as a low bar because I don't want concerns to grow. A 70% vote lowers the rating floors. The sector board of sectors 8 and 9 must develop a transition subject to 50% approval from the federal parent sector board and the current federal government in the 5-year transition period. Now, I was talking about the transition a little bit. There's a major transition from the current system to the new system. I want it to only last 5 years, but I realize with how big the military is that it could take longer. I don't want it to take longer, but I realize that might have to be that way. And we'll see what the transition looks like. I don't have the capability of doing that. That's not my expertise. My expertise is finding the structure that's going to allow this to happen. And if they say they cannot do it within 5 years, it's going to take a 10 to 15 years, then so be it. But I want to try to keep it as close to the 5-year transition as I possibly can. Okay, now we're going to the other sectors. We talked about the diplomats. We talked about the commander-in-chief. This video is on the military corporation. The funding mechanism for the military is the MCS, Military Capability System. And I'm going to do a video on that soon. We're in May of 2021 right now, so I'm going to be doing that probably within the next day or so. So highly important that we understand how that works. And that's very integrated with the military because that's who's funding them. But they get to use a roll of prices. And I'm trying to put enough clauses in there and the language of the clauses to allow the free enterprise system to work, the roll of prices to work. Obviously, it's not full free enterprise system because we use taxes. But once we get the money, I know we have one buyer of goods, but they're not going out there and saying, I'm buying aircraft services from you. I'm not buying police services from you. They're giving money out and saying who has the most capabilities. Everybody, this military corporation gets to say, I have this, this, and this. And all the military corporations are saying, I have all the stuff I'm supplying right here. And they get to say, okay, you get 70%, you get 8%, you get 3%, you get 2%. Everybody gets their percentage, and it ends up being 100%. A total of 5% of national GDP must fund the foreign protection system. So it's a little bit more. You see the ... there, which means there's more to that clause. But the important part is 5% funds the foreign protection system. 20% of the funding must stay in escrow until a specific amount is released by a 70% vote of the diplomats. That means a major war is happening. So we build up. We don't spend money. We don't use all the money right now, and then when a war comes, we authorize more money. We save up that money. That way, we use the roll of prices, and we have assets built up. The MCS representatives must set up a funding arrangement designed to produce a suitable military force. There must be free competition among military corporations for each part of the military budget. Again, I want to use a lot of clauses, a lot of phrases within the clauses to force a free enterprise system. I don't want the military capability to pick and choose what they want and who gets what money. Too much self-dealing with that. Too much corruption comes with that. They need to put out a nice system saying, I would like maybe 10% of my money going towards tanks, 8% of my money going towards nuclear weapons, 15% of my money going towards aircraft carriers. I know I have the percentages wrong there. That's not the point. How they're going to set it up, I don't know exactly, but that's my going thoughts right now. Sector 9's funding of MCs must be proportional to an MC's percentage of the overall military capabilities. So that is a very important clause, along with the free competition for each part of the military budget. One CRA or one military corporation can't say, I have a corner on the market for all the nuclear weapons, or I have a corner on the market for all aircraft carriers or Marines corporations. No. Everybody can compete for that. If one person has all the budget and somebody else competes against them, they're going to start getting some of that money, and the other one's going to have to either pull back or not get as much money. There's a lot of competition there, and using the roll of prices. It's all important, and I know the first time you're thinking about this, you might not understand the whole thing, but the more you think about it, the more the roll of prices is highly important. Okay, Sector 9's funding of MCs must be proportional to an MC's percentage of the overall military capabilities. I got that already. The purpose of the MAA, this is the Military Authorization Agency. This is the accountability board. Sector is to authorize and take 70%. Everyone with inherent government power within the foreign protection system. So highly important that you need to compromise. Conservatives and liberals are going to need to compromise because we need to staff up the whole military, the whole command structure, the whole diplomats and everybody. And CRAs are going to be able to force a little bit of personnel into the mix, and everybody's going to have to compromise a little bit. Okay, this is the whole 30 sectors. Here's 15 of them and 15 more sectors. Highly important screen here. We showed it to you already 2 or 3 times already in this video, but it's one of the most important. The military corporations are going to be belonging to the CRAs here, and but the power up there is not going to be that much for the military corporations. It is for the commander-in-chiefs, it is for the diplomats, it is for the capability system, and it is for the authorization. So 4 out of the 5 sectors within the foreign policy system is at the sector board level, monopolized governance. Military is significantly different. It's going to be probably 90% of the money, and it's going to be free enterprise to a large degree. Obviously, not the whole thing because it's coming with tax money. So let's look at the other videos surrounding this. I have one for the diplomats. I have one for the commander-in-chief. I'm getting ready to do one for the capability system, and then one for the authorization. So please consider a donation to the Haley 2024 The Movement. There's the links on the website. And until the next video.